Welcome to our special broadcast Cheer for India as we begin our build-up to the Summer Games in Tokyo. One thing that's a given about this upcoming Tokyo Olympics is that these aren't going to be normal games by any stretch of the imagination. None or very few spectators is one thing, repeated COVID-19 tests the other, while following a strict pandemic protocol and staying COVID-free will add to the off-field stressors. A total of around 11,000 athletes from 206 countries are expected to participate in 33 sports in Tokyo Olympics 2021. India will be sending its largest contingent to this game, comprising of 67 men and 53 women. The first set of Indian athletes asked to perform while dealing with all that and more will be the archers and shooters, followed by badminton players and our boxers. Deepika Kumari's World Cup exploits have raised hopes of a first ever archery medal for India, but it's the shooters who are expected to be the majority shareholders for India on the medal tally in Tokyo. So how could this games pan out for India's medal hopes? Let's get started. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took stock of India's Olympic preparations on Friday and also announced a virtual interaction with the country's Tokyo-born sportspersons on July 13th, 4 days before the first batch departs for the Japanese capital. The interaction with the athletes will be held virtually owing to the COVID-19 situation.
Stock of India's Olympic preparations on Friday and also announced an interaction with the country's Tokyo-bound sportspersons on the 13th of July, 3 days before the first batch departs for the Japanese capital. The interaction with the athletes will be held virtually owing to the COVID-19 situation. Reviewed preparations for felicitation of India's contingent at Tokyo 2020. Discussed the logistical details, the vaccination status and multidisciplinary support being given. The PM tweeted, "On behalf of 130 crore Indians, I would be interacting with the Olympics-bound athletes on the 13th of July to wish them luck. Let us all #cheer for India," he also said. The earlier announcement of his 13th of July engagement with athletes was made on the government's citizen engagement platform, MyGovindia's Twitter page. The first batch of India's Olympic-bound athletes will depart for Tokyo in a chartered Air India flight on the 17th of July. A total of 126 athletes across 18 sports disciplines from India will be heading to Tokyo. This is the biggest ever contingent India has sent to any Olympics. The 69 cumulative events across the 18 sports disciplines that India will participate in is also the highest ever for the country. Prime Minister Modi, in an earlier meeting in June first week, had directed the Indian Olympic Association to ensure that all the sportspersons set to represent India at the Tokyo Olympics are vaccinated and provided uninterrupted training and personal support. A meeting that the PM chaired last month to review the preparations of the Indian contingent discussed ways to keep sportspersons motivated. Officials said regular video conferences will be organized with parents and family members of sportspersons to boost their morale. A presentation was made on the aspects of operational readiness for the Olympics. The PM was apprised about steps taken to ensure uninterrupted training for athletes amid the pandemic, participation in international competitions to win Olympic quota, vaccination of athletes and customized support. The vaccination status of sportspersons and support staff was also shared with the Prime Minister. He directed that every athlete, even though in the process of qualifying, and support staff and officials be vaccinated at the earliest. The raging COVID-19 cases in Tokyo City have forced the Games organizers to hold the Games under a state of emergency in Japan without spectators from the 23rd of July till the 8th of August. The PM interacting with the Indian contingent before they sail for Olympic glory is a great window for the players to gun for glory. The PM leads from the front as over 130 crore Indians want the Summer Games contingent to put their best foot forward in Tokyo. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, the Prime Minister leading from the front, especially when it comes to cheering for India, and to get a perspective on what this could mean, especially for the athletes who are bound for Tokyo. Joining us on this special broadcast is Narendra Batra, the IOA President, joining us this evening to give us an insight into how prepared is the Indian contingent. Well, good evening, sir. How do you look at the Indian contingent?
It can boost the athletes.
Okay,
It shows that
he wanted to interact with the athletes who are bound for Tokyo. How cumbersome was it putting everything together? You got many things to handle, one among them now being that the Prime Minister also wants to interact with them.
No, I think it's always an honor and privilege. It's part of our system that we have to meet the Honorable Prime Minister and take his blessing before we leave. So it was not cumbersome at all. I think everyone is looking up to that, and it's going to be virtual interaction. So everyone is aware of the program, the schedule, everything.
Okay.
So it's very much part of our daily routine.
Okay.
And we are fitted into that. So if your question is that if anybody's practice or something is going to be affected, no, not at all.
Okay.
It's very much within the schedule and nothing is going to get affected. And again, I'll say it's an honor to meet or speak with the Prime Minister.
Okay, it's an honor to speak with the Prime Minister. I'll ask you to, hold your thoughts. Let's now go over to the next story and take a look at the Olympic hopefuls on how they are and what their chances are. For many Olympic hopefuls, the past year and a half was a period of great uncertainty and mounting anxiety. As the virus surges again across the continent, just as the Olympics approach, the pandemic has done more than just upend plans and make training, traveling and getting precious pre-games competition tricky for athletes world over. It has ruined dreams. However, the Summer Games present a great opportunity to all those competing, as together we can, together we will.
The countdown for the Tokyo Olympics is underway after the one-year delay owing to the coronavirus pandemic that is still looming large. Following almost a year-long hiatus, athletes are slowly making their return into sports with the aim of attaining glory at the quadrennial sporting extravaganza. India is aiming to send one of its biggest contingents ever to the Tokyo Olympics, including a few who are among the best in the world. And before the action begins in Tokyo, predictions are going to pour in from all corners. From how many medals India will win in Tokyo to which athlete will win which color. People are trying to predict everything. In that beat, here we will try to make some predictions of our own and the predictions that are bold. First athletics medal for India. India has been long starving for a medal in athletics, which might be achieved this year. Javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra and long jumper Sri Shankar Murali have given us hopes which can translate into medals at the hallowed ground. It is not a hidden fact that athletics is one of the disciplines which has the most number of medal events, and as a result, the Indian federations and associations have been at it to produce a medalist in that field. Asian Games and Commonwealth Games gold medalist Neeraj Chopra threw an attempt of 88.07 meters to create a new national record in the javelin throw event at the Indian Grand Prix 3 at the National Institute of Sports, Patiala. As he is trying to reach the 90-meter mark, the possibilities look encouraging. Biggest medal tally in shooting. Indian shooters have kept on dominating the world circuit with some extremely well performances in the ISSF World Cups. Shooters like Saurabh Chaudhary, Manu Bhakar, Divyansh Singh Pawar, Anjum Mudgil, Abhishek Verma have time and again consistently performed over a couple of years, thus making them some of the best bets to win multiple medals in the Tokyo Olympics. Long wait for medal ends for Indian archers. Indian archers have long been waiting for their deserving medal at the Olympics. Deepika Kumari, who had been the world #1 archer, had to miss out on her medal dreams in London 2012 and Rio 2016. With her making into the team once again, Deepika will be bringing experience with her to win India's first ever medal in archery in the women's individual category and also probably in the mixed team event with her husband Atanu Das. Mary Com's dream of winning Olympic gold remains unachieved. The Tokyo Olympics will be the swan song of India's all-time greatest pugilist and six-time world champion Mary Com. For the 2012 Olympic bronze medalist, a gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics would have been the fitting crown for the Manipuri. However, going by her present form and analyzing her competitors in the 51 kg weight category, a top finish in the podium would be a daunting job for her, who is also catching up with her age. Sania Mirza chases down elusive Olympics medal. India's Sania Mirza said the elusive dream of winning a medal at her 4th Olympics in Tokyo this year motivated her to return to the WTS circuit after a year-long gap. It was a disappointing outing for Mirza and her mixed doubles partner Rohan Bopanna, in Rio 2016, who despite reaching the semi-finals of the tournament missed the medal by a whisker. This time Sania looks motivated and her current form could spell a medal-winning performance in Tokyo. India's first ever double-digit medal tally. India's best ever medal tally to date has been 6, which they achieved at the London Olympics. But this time, if the Olympics do happen, they have a chance to eclipse that mark and go further, and who knows, they have the ability to make it to a double-digit medal tally. We could be looking at 5 medals from shooting, 2 from boxing, 2 from wrestling, 1 from hockey, and that's 10 right there. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, 10 and counting, that's what we are looking at from the Tokyo Olympics. Well, Mr. Batra still with us, the President of the Indian Olympic Association. Mr. Batra, looking at the way, protocols are put in place, how difficult or how easy is it? There are protocols that have been put by the organizing country there. So especially when it comes to taking the Indian contingent through, how cumbersome or how easy was it? How would you rate, especially in this COVID times, putting the team together and taking them all the way to Tokyo?
I would say there have been difficult conditions also which have been put, which I would say are unfair to the 11 or 14 countries which have been put in category 1 or category 2, where it is mandatory that you have to be in 3 days quarantine-like situation where you cannot interact with or mix with any other NOC or athletes, or you cannot go to the food hall to have the food. So that is a difficult situation for the athletes who are going to be in a mode to peak at that time, but then they will be asked to stay maybe a few steps behind. But that's now part of the game, and whichever country you are going to, you have to respect the laws of that country. And if they have put these conditions are not put by IOC or the organizing committee, they are by government of Japan. Now, if we are going to Japan, we have to respect their rules and laws. So I think athletes are mentally prepared. Everyone knows what they have to go through, what kind of protocols are going to be there at the airport or in the village for first few days. So everybody is mentally prepared, and I would say fighting fit to go now. I think another few days they'll be boarding the flight, and then I would say that may the best person win on the given day.
Well, fighting fit to stay alive in Tokyo. Well, I'll ask you to hold your thoughts again. Let's now take a look at that shooting story on the shooters that are expected to come good in every Olympics that India goes. India's medal hopes and the first set of Indian athletes asked to perform at any summer games. While dealing with all this and lot more will be our shooters. A record number of shooters, 15 additional events, and a proven recent track record make Indians the favourites in more than one event at the Osaka shooting range. It's not something India has often, if ever, carried to the Olympics, tag of being favourites across events. Plus, the team has to get the Rio Olympics monkey off its back. Despite high hopes, shooting drew a blank in Rio 2016. There's so much to look forward to from the young guns as they blaze for glory in Tokyo.
Rifle shooter Ilavanil Valarivan has been included in a 15-member Indian shooting contingent for the Tokyo Olympics, while Manu Bhakar is slated to represent the country in 3 events. Bhakar will be fielded in both the women's 25-meter pistol alongside the experienced Rahi Sarnobat and in her pet 10-meter air pistol event with Yashaswini Deswal. She will partner Saurav Chaudhary in the mixed team event, where they have had a stellar run at the World Cups. Pistol quota winner Chinky Yadav, who had claimed gold in the Delhi World Cup last month, could only earn a reserve spot. To deal with the uncertainty caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the National Rifle Association of India named 2 reserves in each discipline, where its shooters have won quota places for the games. Here is the team selected for Tokyo 2020 Olympics. 10-meter air rifle men: Divyansh Singh Pawar, Deepak Kumar, Sandeep Singh, reserve shooter; Aishwarya Pratap, reserve shooter. 50-meter rifle 3-position men: Sanjeev Rajput, Aishwarya Pratap Singh Tomar, Swapnil Kusale, reserve shooter; Chain Singh, reserve shooter. 10-meter air pistol men: Saurabh Chaudhary, Abhishek Verma, Shahzar Rizvi, reserve shooter; Om Prakash, reserve shooter. 10-meter air rifle women: Apurvi Chandela, Ilavanil Valarivan, Anjum Mudgil, reserve shooter; Shreya Agarwal, reserve shooter. 50-meter rifle 3-position women: Anjum Mudgil, Tejaswini Sawant, Sunidhi Chauhan, reserve shooter; Gayatri N, reserve shooter. 10-meter pistol women: Manu Bhakar, Yashaswini Singh Deswal, P. Shri Niveta, reserve shooter, Shweta Singh, reserve shooter. 25-meter sports pistol women. Rahi Sarnobat, Manu Bhakar, Chinky Yadav reserve shooter, Abhidnya Patil reserve shooter. Skeet men, Angad Veer Singh Bajwa, Mehraj Ahmed Khan, Gurjot Khangura reserve shooter, Shiraz Seth reserve shooter. 10-meter air rifle mixed team, Divyansh Pawar and Ilavenil Valarivan. Deepak Kumar and Anjum Mudgil. 10-meter air pistol mixed team, Saurabh Chaudhary and Manu Bhakar, Abhishek Verma and Yashaswini Deswal. The reserve shooters will undergo the same preparations as the core team shooters to ensure they can step in if any of the first team shooters contract COVID or are unable to participate for any reason. The Tokyo Olympics will begin in July and more shooters can still qualify for the games based on their world rankings. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, moving forward, in a webinar that was conducted by Sanskar Dham School, Gujarat, where Tokyo-bound shooter Elvanil started her shooting career and reached the Olympics, her parents shared their words on how happy they are. Let's hear what they have to say.
It's the very same soil where she started practicing properly, and today she reached Olympics. So we are very happy.
It was dreaming of our ex-CM, our Modi ji, when he was here as a chief minister. He was dreaming to bring sports school in Gujarat. So first he brought the school here. His Khel Mahakumbh through he started the school. His dream was going to be giving fruits, started giving fruits now. But how it was coming through you like coaches here. Many coaches are actually, I request the coaches who are sitting here, at least every coaches should bring at least one person to the Olympic. This is our request. Then definitely India will become top in Olympics, not only in Olympics, in all the games. We can say that one.
Well, another discipline where India is expected to come good is boxing. Indian boxer Vikas Krishna is setting his eyes on a gold medal in the third Olympics of his life in Tokyo, slated to be held in July. This feat will make him only the second Indian men boxer to do so after the 2008 Olympic bronze medalist Vijender Singh.
सुबह शाम मेरे दिमाग में सिर्फ एक यही लाइन है, मुझे ओलंपिक्स जीतना है.
For Vikas Krishnan, it's a make or break time going into the Tokyo Olympics. The Bhiwani boxer who made a smashing debut in 2010 would be hoping to be third time lucky going into the Tokyo Olympic extravaganza. Let's find out more about him in this report. A soon-to-be three-time Olympian and a former World Championship bronze medalist, Indian boxer Vikas Krishnan has been one of India's most consistent performers over the past decade.
बॉक्सिंग मेरे फादर की एक चॉइस थी कि वो चाहते थे कि मैं स्ट्रॉन्ग बनूं, एक स्ट्रॉन्ग मैनहुड टाइप, इस टाइप से एक स्ट्रॉन्ग गाय बनूं, क्योंकि इसलिए उन्होंने मुझे बॉक्सिंग में डाला था 2001-2002 में. और जब मैं सोचने के लायक हुआ तो जब ये मेरा ड्रीम हो चुका था ताकि मैं कंट्री को रिप्रेजेंट करूं.
Born in the Singh's Khas village of Haryana's Hisar district, Vikas moved to the city of Bhiwani, and it was the turning point in his life. Bhiwani is often called India's mini Cuba because of its proud boxing heritage, and the culture soon rubbed off on the young Vikas. He joined the Bhiwani Boxing Club when he was 10 and later moved to Pune to train at the Army Sports Institute.
टॉप स्कीम में हूँ तो वो भी एक गवर्नमेंट की स्कीम है. आपके पास बेस्ट रिकवरी मेथड्स हैं, यहाँ पे आपके पास बहुत अच्छी डाइट है, ऑसम ट्रेनिंग फैसिलिटीज़ हैं, ऑसम ट्रेनर्स हैं, तो और आपको चाहिए क्या?
Vikas burst onto the international scene in 2010 winning the lightweight gold medal at the World Youth Championship in Baku and the bronze at the Youth Olympics in Singapore. Later in the same year, Vikas, then just 18, won his major senior title after clinching the 2010 Asian Games gold in the 60 kg category in Guangzhou, China. In 2011, the Haryana lad consolidated his status as a rising star of Indian boxing after winning the welterweight bronze medal at the Senior World Championship in Baku. Following his heartbreaking exit in London 2012, Vikas took a one-year break from boxing. But the Arjuna awardee returned with a bang, securing the bronze medal at the 2014 Asian Games in Incheon, South Korea.
तो ये है इंजरीज आर पार्ट ऑफ गेम और जब तक आपको इंजरीज नहीं होंगी आप उसका कोई अल्टरनेट नहीं ढूंढ पाओगे, आप बेटर नहीं हो पाओगे। देन आई रिकवर फ्रॉम द इंजरी और उसके बाद फिर मैं यूएसए गया। प्रोफेशनल बॉक्सिंग की वजह से मैं बहुत टफ हो चुका हूँ। अब मेरे को कोई इंजरी हो जाए या मतलब कुछ भी हो जाए तो मैं बैकअप नहीं करूँगा।
At the Rio Olympics 2016, Vikas was a changed man in a new category. He was a middleweight boxer instead of a welterweight one. He improved a lot and was just a step away from a historic podium finish. However, he lost to Bektemir of Uzbekistan in the quarterfinals.
उसके बाद से लोगों की एक्सपेक्टेशंस जो मुझ पे बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गई थी, तो उसके बाद मैंने सोचा कि अब तो देखो इनके एक्सपेक्टेशंस पे आपको खरा उतरना पड़ेगा। 1.5 साल मैंने ऑफ लिया, पुलिस ट्रेनिंग ज्वाइन की और क्योंकि मैं भी एक दूसरी लाइफ देखना चाहता था तो मैं सोचता था कि मैं कुछ टाइम ऑफ लूँ ताकि मैं दोबारा अच्छे से कम बैक कर पाऊँगा।
At the Tokyo Olympics, Vikas is back to square one. He is once again in the same welterweight category as he was before. He is in the same place as he was before. All he wants to do is achieve what he couldn't at either the London Olympics or Rio Games. It is now or never moment for Vikas. Will the Indian juggernaut be third time lucky? Will he rewrite history? A billion plus population will be cheering for the lad from Bhiwani as the nation expectation rests on his shoulder. Tapash Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
Mr. Batra, Olympic Association President, still with us on this special broadcast. Mr. Batra, when you look at this pandemic times and the problems that were brought about with it, do you somewhere feel it's unfair to compare the players as they head into a summer games? Considering the fact most of them haven't got that regular share of competition or the look and feel of especially playing with those players, who they are going to compete at the big stage.
No, I don't think that would be correct to say put it that way.
Okay.
I think in last, we had problems, I think in 2020, in April or May, I would say, when COVID really shook us badly in the beginning.
Okay.
But from June onwards, I think there's been continuous practice. Whosoever wanted to train in India, trained in India. Whosoever wanted to go out, trained outside India. They were provided all facilities. And if you say that they are going without consistent match practice or whatever is normally required, I think that's a level playing field for all the athletes.
Okay, it's a level playing field. That's perfectly fine. But how, would you stick your neck out and say the number of medals that we can expect from this Indian contingent?
No, I used to say, but now I have taken a leaf out of our Honorable Prime Minister's Man Ki Baat that we should not put pressure on the athletes. But I am certainly confident that the contingent which is going to Tokyo is the best prepared contingent I have ever seen. And we are quite confident that when they come back, they'll bring a lot of laurels to the country. And I am hopeful of seeing the Indian flag flying. I'll not name athletes or any sport.
Okay.
But we are confident that this time India should do well.
Okay, we are confident that India should do well. Well, all the best for that interaction that the athletes will have with the Prime Minister on the 13th of July. Thank you and appreciate your joining us on this special broadcast on DD India. Well, it's Olympics time, and remember one thing, this is Olympics. So competing against the best at the Olympics is not the same as competing in continental events and world championship. One just hopes the Indian athlete find the motivation to drive their Olympic dreams. That's it from me and the entire sports team. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy watching sports.